When I was a child and misbehaved, my parents used to tell me the same story every time in order to scare me. The legend of La Llorona. Every country has their own urban legends, but none of them are shared by so many as the legend of La Llorona. It is a legend that every Latino and Latina know about, from as far north as Mexico all the way down to Argentina. Today I will inform you of the legend of La Llorona, why it's been such a big legend in different Latin American cultures for hundreds of years, and how many people believe in it. This legend dates all the way back to colonial America, with no real known date, which makes the legends creepy and unsettling to those who hear it. La Llorona can be found all over Latino culture, with many unfamiliar not realizing just how big of a thing it is for us Latinos. Today I will hope to leave you with more knowledge on various Latino culture with just one single story. My parents told me this story when I was very young, and I have known about it for my whole life. I have even made my artwork based on La Llorona, because I've always found it to be a very fascinating story. Throughout my whole life, I have openly talked about the legend with many other Latinos, debating if the legend is real or not. I have even spoken with people who claim to have seen her in the flesh. I will first begin by telling you the legend, then I will tell you why it's shared by so many different cultures, and lastly I will tell you why some people believe in it and others don't. I will now tell you the haunting legend of La Llorona, but before I start, it is important to note that this story has many different versions, but I will tell you the most popular and well-known version of it. The story begins with a beautiful woman named Maria. Maria came from a poor background and was seeking the love of her life when eventually she met a rich, handsome man, and they became married and had 3 children. One day, Maria found out that her husband was cheating on her with another woman, and enraged, she took their kids to a body of water and drowned all of them before jumping in herself and committing suicide. And in the afterlife, she was denied access into heaven, and unless she brought her kids back, but sadly they were dead, so she couldn't do anything about that. And since then, she's been wandering the earth looking for her children and crying after them. It is said that she can be found around bodies of water, but many others claim that she has no limits, and you could hear her haunting cries no matter where you go, screaming "Ay mis hijos," which translates to "Oh my children." Different countries change different aspects of what she does when she appears. Stephen Wienik, a folklorist and editor for the Library of Congressmen's Folklife Center, who wrote an article on La Llorona in 2021, had the following to say: "You'll find many variations. Sometimes she sees you from afar and pursues you, terrifying you as you flee towards your home. Sometimes she appears riding a horse. Sometimes she appears in your horse-drawn wagon or in your car, warning you against bad behavior before disappearing." Her origin has been told with endless different versions, which tweak many different aspects of her origin. According to Ana R. Alonso Munit, Associate Professor of Music and affiliate of the Latin American Institute at the University of New Mexico, there are many variants on La Llorona's story. So in fact, there are many Lloronas. While there are many variants of the myth, all stories share the essence of a female figure, the weeping woman who has been betrayed by her male lover. Now I will tell you why it is such a big part in Latino culture. One reason La Llorona is so popular is because it's a story that has been passed on from generation to generation for hundreds of years, something that all Latinos, no matter how old or young, grew up with. Fawn Amber Montana, an intern coordinator of Chicano Studies and director of the honors program at Colorado State University Pueblo, gave a virtual lecture on October 29, 2020, and said the following about La Llorona: "Even though it's a frightening story, it became a way for us to come together. It's oral tradition. It was core to us and the native communities. We didn't always remember the names of our great-grandparents, but we remember the stories they told." Another reason why the legend is told to us is to teach kids to behave. The story has been told to prevent them from wandering off at night and to not be alone in large bodies of water. It is important for them to know this fear from a young age, and this is why it has been told. Another reason it's been told for so many years is because it's relatable to a certain degree and has a timeless feel. Domino Renes Perez, author of the book There Was a Woman, La Llorona, From Folklore to Popular Culture, gave an interview to Atlas Obscura in 2019 and said the following: "The story has a timelessness to it, dating back to the pre-conquest Protestants foretelling and for some, the fall of the Aztec Empire, and extending into the present, where thousands of women are being separated from their children at the border. La Llorona remains relevant, and as long as she does, her story will continue to be told. Lastly, I will inform you on the different perspectives people have on the authenticity of her existence. Although many are familiar with the story, that doesn't mean that everyone believes that it is true. I have talked to a cousin who has claimed that he has heard her, and this is the story that he told me. He said, I was walking home one night from work with one of my friends, and eventually we heard a woman crying, and then she kept on crying and crying, and then my friends got really suspicious until we heard, "Ay, mis hijos," which translates to, "Oh, my kids." And as soon as we heard that, we just ran and ran until we couldn't hear it anymore. However, despite this story, there are many who don't believe that she is even scientifically possible to be a figure at all. According to Benjamin Radford, an American writer, investigator, and journalist who wrote an article for LifeScience.com on October 31st, 2022, people create their own special categories for different types of ghosts, such as poltergeists, residential hauntings, intelligent spirits, and shadow people. Of course, it's all made up, like speculating on the different races of fairies or dragons. There are as many types of ghosts as you want there to be. Historians believe that the legend is simply a myth inspired by previous legends. Dr. Amy Fuller, a Mexican historian, draws similarities between La Llorona and La Colchaqui, an Aztec goddess who is a savage beast and an evil omen, who appears in white and would walk at night weeping and wailing. It is very possible La Llorona got inspiration from this because of similarities are suspiciously similar, and that is how many different people view the legend of La Llorona, bringing this presentation to its end. First, I told you the legend of La Llorona, then I told you why it is such a big deal in Latin American culture, and lastly, I told you why some people believe in it and others don't. After what I told you, do you believe in ghosts? Whether you believe in them or not, you can't deny that this one has been brought to life due to how big of an impact it has had on our Latino cultures. There may or not be a woman roaming around looking for her kids, but her haunting image can be found all over our cultures and is very much real.